What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Scarborough Fishing, and today we're talking jerkbaits. So, jerkbaits are an absolutely great choice all year, especially when fish are chasing bait fish. To be able to put up that presentation of a dying bait fish in the water which just stops, jerks, 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 jerks. It's absolutely great, but it's especially great during the winter time. And there's no better jerkbait than the Megabass Vision 110 for winter. Other than that, you have a few other choices that are really great. You have some deep divings that are really great, like the 13 fishing whippersnapper. I especially love the disco shad. That is just absolutely killer. As you see, I've changed out the hooks, put a red one up front. These are mustard EMGs. And this is a slow sink now. I mean, you put it on there, it just slow sinks. And it's really great. Another one that I like that I found was Monster Bass Crack. That crack white and black with the red eyes. That's really great. I still got the original hooks on there. Might as well keep them. They're actually pretty good stout hooks. The only time I really don't change out hooks is the Vision 110s. Because they sit in the water column so perfectly and so still, their nose down, they just sit there. And if you change out the hooks, it'll give a little more weight and they'll start to sink down. So I don't really change them. This is the Tennessee shad on the Vision 110 plus 1. So it dives down to, I think it's down to like 9 feet, 9 feet. So that's really great. And I really like the matte shad and the standard Vision 110, which dives down about 4 feet. Really great. I also have some other ones that are actually I really like, but the Vision 10 are just absolutely great when it comes to cold water. Other than that, I really like going with either the 6th Sense. I can't remember the name. I'll put in the description below. Remember, I always put the description of. Or the script, I always put in the description, I always put a link to all the baits that I show up, my line, anything that I talk about is always in the description. Just make sure you hit that button, check it out. If you see anything that you like, go ahead and get it. I'm not website specific, not brand specific. I'll put up the websites that I get there. If generally I'll put it on Tackle Warehouse, unless it's like Kitex or something specific that Tackle Warehouse doesn't have, or a certain color they don't have. I'll look at other websites to see if I can find you with the exact color. That way you can get it. But just remember, check out the description. 6th Sense also makes a really good jerkbait. They're fairly cheap. A lot like the 13 fish. And the 13 fish is like $6-7. Those things are real cheap, really great. They have a great action to it. I mean, just snap, 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 snap. It's really great. They're just really great jerkbaits. One thing I do want to talk about is when you're having hassle getting your jerkbait out of your box and you get hung up on all the other jerkbaits, you pull them out. It drives me crazy. I can't stand it. You're sitting here trying to get them to get loose of each other. It takes a minute. You got 4 or 5 inside the same column. These are Strike Kings. Strike King also makes good jerkbaits. I just got them stored over here because those are the ones I'm not using. Like I said, just a standard tackle box, and you got them all inside there. It rattles around, they're locked up together. Drives me crazy. So I ended up finding Bass Mafia has a double barrel for jerkbaits. I'll hold them up, open it up, say you want one, found the ones you want, pull it right out, go for it. It's a Guggen Squad jerkbait. I think it's the Shimmer Shad. I'm not exactly sure. So I'll link most of all these down through there, or you can find them. Or the see, like there's Strike King that I love with that silver and blue top. It's kind of like almost like a pro blue, but it's more of a metallic or a chrome color. But this box is absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's got rubber coating all the way around it. That way no water gets inside of here. Get to close up real quick on me. The only time I've had any problems is the latches. Sometimes the latches just want to get caught and don't really want to close. See, there it goes. See, and so I mean, once it's on there, it's on there. It's got that rubber seal around it. I really like it. I know that 6th Sense just came out with another box that holds 20. Actually collapsed down. It's got foam inside of it that really holds your baits real well. I'd really love to get my hand on one of those. I think they're like $35 each. I'd really love one of those because it's a 3700 case that holds 20 jerk baits, and they don't get wrapped up like these do. I mean, that's just drives me crazy. But I found this. I really like it. It stands up. It's bigger than 3700, but I can reach my hand in there. I can get any bait that I want without them being wrapped up, and that means a lot to me. It does. That means a lot to me. It may not mean that much to other people. I really like it, and that's just a personal preference. So, other than the baits and the boxes, I use a medium. I try to get as moderate of a pull, or as fast action. Let me rephrase that. So as for a pull, I use a medium, but I try to get as fast of an action as possible because I don't want that tip to sit there and to move the entire time that you jerk it. I want that tip to sit there and do that the entire time. So I try to get as stiff of a tip as possible while still getting the plank of itself to still be very parabolic. So I have yet to find a pole that I really like for it. I've just been using my medium Arid X for it. It works well, but that pole still, the tip of it still moves too much. In order for my liking, I would rather to find something a little different, but I still need to search around and see what I can find. Other than that, the line that I use is like almost everything else. The Suffix 832 50-pound braid to either 10 or 12-pound leader, depending. Most time I'll run a 10-pound leader. Sometimes I'll run a 12-pound leader. It is back and forth. I really don't think it'd be much of a difference. I try not to give too much of a fluorocarbon lead on it. I try to only do like 1 to 2 feet because the fluorocarbon it'll still train. It won't train as much as mono. Mono has a lot. It'll train itself, and when you sit there and go to jerk, when that mono that you have out there will start to curl up, and when it does, that bait will move, and that's no good right there. So I try to use a short fluorocarbon leader on it, and the reason why I try to use a fluorocarbon leader is for a little bit of stretch. And so when you're out there and jerk, and they smash it, and you got to pull up on it with braid, you're either gonna break the hooks, you're gonna pull it right out of their mouth, you're gonna yank it right out of their mouth. So I think something with just a little bit of stretch to it, like a little bit of stretch like fluorocarbon has, will work really well. For me, this is all personal preference. You can do whatever you feel works best for you, but this is what I do. I'm not a professional angler, so take my word with a grain of salt. Still, this is what I do. So the reaction of a fish when it comes to a jerkbait and the action that it has is really something. So you get a jerkbait down through there, reel it down to the depth that you want it at, and it's just sitting there, nose down, and it's just sitting there. And all of a sudden you jerk that pole, it goes and it just sits there. Sometimes it'll sit there and pull back up, and then and I do a retrieve of either 1, 2, or 3, and it just sits there and dart, back and forth. I mean, I try not to sit there and pop it real hard because a lot of times you'll get it where it just rolls and it'll have to reposition itself, and so I try to just a gentle little pop, and you always do it on slack line. And this is the reason why. When fish are sitting there and they're staring at this thing's just sitting there and pop. If it ever goes to swim, done for. Those fish are just like, forget it, I don't want it, and they swim away. I don't know why. That's what they do though. So every time you go to snap it, let it be slack line. Leave the slack line on there, snap into that slack line, just pop. Reel in just a little bit, but leave that slack still there. Pop. Will work great, because as soon as you reel in that line, just a little bit of tension on it, it'll move. And that's another reason why you don't want mono. With that curl that it has in there, that curl, especially if you're using straight mono, and I feel like even straight fluoro, if it has any curl to it, that curl will be like a spring. It'll try to pull itself back together, and it'll just, and then pop, pop, and swim, pop, and swim, and it just destroy everything you're trying to do right then and there. It's the reason why I try to use 50-pound braid with a short leader, because if I get something on there, something serious on there, I want that little bit of cushion, a little bit of give, that little bit of stretch. Other than that, that's really just all I do with jerkbaits. You try to find them in the water column, whether they're run up a little bit higher, a little lower, sitting there in structure. If they're behind structure, trying to do it shallow diving, you see the bill right there. It's a shallow diving compared to a deep diving, and then they got the 2X, which is an even little bit longer bill that sits even more so. And hold on, let me backtrack real quick instead of jumping. They're in structure, like up shallow. You use a shallow jerkbait. It works great. If you sit there and hit a 110+1 soft enough, you can get it to run shallow. But best bet when it comes to any of that, just go ahead and get you a shallow running 4 foot. It run great right into there. And then if you're trying to run a little bit deeper than that, if they're pulled off deeper, use a 110+1. I really love the Tennessee Shad. Pro Blue is another great color that they have. That works real great. And one thing that I saw from watching underwater videos is the standard 110 sits about, a little bit less than a 45. The 110+1 sits a little more, and the 110+2 sits even more of an angle. So I don't know if that's something that's maybe it will cause more of a reaction, more of a strike. Maybe they want something that sits more down, or like the Rapala ripstop with that little tail right there. This is something, if you have aggression, you can really pop, 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 and it'll just pop, pop, pop. And wherever it goes, I mean, it just goes, and it's like it hits the brakes and stops. But this thing also, it'll back up and hit. It'll almost sit completely flush. Now I have changed out the hooks, something a little more heavy, because when it comes back up, slow sink, and then pop, 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 and back up, slow sink. I think that sometimes they want that slow sink. Sometimes they want a slow raise to it. Sometimes they want a slow sink. Sometimes they want just dead in the middle. It's the reason why my 110s, I don't change out the hooks. Now I understand hooks break, they get snagged, they bend out, stuff like that. If you go to Tactical Bass and you look through their stuff, they actually go and they measure hooks with O-rings to match the exact grams. I think they even get down tenths of a gram to be able to find hooks that works for Vision 110s. So if you got Visions, just about everybody has Vision 110s. That's something to look into. And they will actually, in their description, will give split rings and hooks to be able to change them for. That's something I also hope I'm doing. The information that I need for being able to change out mine. But other than that, that's really all that I use. I don't really have anything more specific than that, other than size. Try to pay attention to your bait fish. Are they size of a 110? Are they the size of a I want to say these are 70s. I want to say a little bit smaller than 90s, but I mean, you can see the difference in the size right there. Pay attention to the size. I think I have a 90 over here. Try to pay attention. Sometimes that'll make a huge difference. I know in the fishery that I have, they're anywhere from that 75 to a 110. It's either 70, 75, something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. One thing that I do like about some of these is if you look, Guggen Squad has the number right there at the bottom, 3 to 5 feet. Another thing that I like is 13 Fishing Whippersnapper has that 5 to 9 feet right there on the bill. I don't know if I can get it to have it where you can see it, but 5 to 9 feet. I really like it when they say it on there, but I'm not going to get rid of my Vision 110. They're just absolutely phenomenal jerk baits. Other than that, that's really it. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to jerkbait fishing, but you can get a lot of fish and you can have a lot of fun doing it. It's just one of those things. You got to go out there, you got to start throwing it, get a practice and practice and practice. Like everything else, you have to practice in order to put the time in to get good at it. So if you want to try your hand at jerkbait fishing, don't just go out one or two times, go out multiple times. Keep going, and eventually you'll get that fish and you're like, oh man, that was really cool. What was I doing that time to get that? And you just go back out there and do it again and again and again and again, and you'll end up getting those fish. That's pretty much all that I do. Anything that I don't have any fish on, like swim baits, never got a swim bait bite. Or glide baits, never got a glide bait bite. I want to keep on going out there. I'm going to keep on throwing them, keep on practicing. It's the only way to get good at it. You don't practice, you don't get good at it. Just keep practicing, keep going out there. Spend more time on the water. I know I absolutely love spending time on the water. Spend more time on the water. Go out there, find something that you want to do, and keep doing it. Find more research in it, and you'll get better at it. And you'll start catching those fish like crazy. And then you'll start clicking, oh wow. Like one thing that was pointed out to me that I really enjoy is birds. Well, this is a fish channel. What are you talking about birds for? If there's birds, there's fish. Listen for birds. Look for birds. If you can see them, if you can hear them, there's fish in that water. If you don't see them, you don't hear them, more than likely, there's no fish. Unless they're really far down. But most of the creeks that I go in through to, it's only about 10, 15 at the most. But rarely, mostly 10, 4 feet, 2 feet. If there's birds, there's fish. And that's something I try to pay attention to as well when I'm out there. Other than that, that's really it. I mean, jerkbait fishing, I've had a lot of fun doing it. I want to keep doing it. I absolutely love it. It's not my bread and butter, but I absolutely love it. I enjoy it. So next time, remember, be safe, have fun, catch a big one for me. Till next time.